The AI idea sounds useful. The demo looks possible. The department wants it. The executive likes it. But nobody knows whether it should be funded, paused, tested, reworked, or handed to a real delivery team. A useful enterprise AI program does not begin with a chatbot or a vendor demo. It begins with a disciplined pipeline for discovering, ranking, validating, and advancing AI opportunities. A serious AI operating model starts before the first prototype is built. That may sound obvious, but it is where many organizations go wrong. They jump from interest to experiment. Someone has an idea. Someone else suggests a tool. A vendor shows a demo. A developer builds something quickly. Then the organization starts acting as if it has a project. But an idea is not a project. A demo is not a roadmap. A prototype is not a production plan. And enthusiasm is not prioritization. A useful enterprise AI program needs a way to move from scattered interest to disciplined portfolio management. That means the organization needs to answer three practical questions. What AI opportunities are possible? Which opportunities are actually worth pursuing? And how do the best candidates get validated and advanced without turning every idea into an expensive project? That is the purpose of the enterprise AI operating model. It is not just a funnel. It is not just a spreadsheet. It is not just an innovation committee. It is a structured front-end system for discovering opportunities, ranking them realistically, validating the strongest candidates through prototype and MVP, and handing proven initiatives to dedicated delivery teams for production development. Without that structure, AI work becomes chaotic. The organization starts too many things, it keeps weak projects alive too long, it promotes ideas before the data is understood, it asks security for approval after architectural decisions have already been made. It lets executive excitement outrun evidence. And it creates prototypes that nobody knows how to finish, govern, or support. The operating model fixes that by creating a disciplined path. Stage 1 discovers possible opportunities. Stage 2 scores, ranks, and selects the strongest candidates. Stage 3 validates those candidates through an innovation pipeline. The key idea is simple. Enterprise AI should move through evidence, not enthusiasm. The first mistake in enterprise AI is trying to pick winners before the organization understands the opportunity landscape. Stage 1 is not about selecting projects. It is about discovering what is possible. The question is simple. What AI opportunities exist across the enterprise? That includes obvious use cases like intelligent document processing, AI assistance, forecasting, classification, and knowledge search. But it also includes less obvious opportunities hiding inside departments, workflows, handoffs, reports, approvals, support queues, compliance processes, legacy .NET applications, SQL Server databases, and manual decision points. A mature discovery process should not ask one vague question like, where can we use AI? That produces shallow answers. A stronger approach uses structured discovery lenses. Look by industry, look by department, look by pain point, look by workflow, look by repetitive task, look by bottleneck, look by risk, look by data source, look by business capability, look by AI tool class. The goal is to create a large inventory of candidate opportunities, but not a messy pile of random notes. That is why normalization matters. Two departments may describe the same underlying opportunity with different language. One person may say, automate intake. Another may say, summarize incoming requests. Another may say, classify cases. Those may be separate opportunities, or they may be variations of one larger workflow problem. Stage 1 cleans that up. If discovery is sloppy, everything downstream becomes weaker. Stage 2, scoring becomes inconsistent. Technical feasibility gets misunderstood. Data assumptions stay vague. Security risks are missed. Leadership starts comparing opportunities that were never described at the same level of clarity. The output of Stage 1 should be a structured AI opportunity backlog. That backlog should include enough metadata to support later evaluation. Business problem, department, owner or source, suspected AI category, assumptions, early risks, candidate tool class, and status. Stage 1 does not approve the project. It only answers this: is this opportunity documented well enough to evaluate? That distinction protects the organization from confusing idea capture with project approval. Once the organization has a structured opportunity backlog, the next question is not, which idea sounds exciting? The better question is, which opportunities are actually best? Stage 2 is scoring, ranking, and selection. This stage exists because different stakeholders see different truths. Management may see strategic value and return on investment. A department owner may see workflow fit, user adoption, and operational pain relief. A developer or solution architect may see integration difficulty, maintainability, and whether the proposed solution fits the architecture. A DBA or data lead may see data quality, data availability, and preparation burden. Security, legal, and compliance may see privacy exposure, regulatory concerns, and approval friction. Infrastructure, DevOps, and QA may see deployment, monitoring, testing, supportability, and operational burden. No single role sees the full picture. That is why role-based scoring matters. The score itself is useful, but the discussion around the score is often more valuable. Imagine management scores a project high because the business value looks strong. The department owner agrees because the workflow is painful. But the DBA says the data is incomplete, inconsistent, and spread across 3 systems. The developer says the old .NET application has no clean APIs. Security says the proposed model would process sensitive information in a way that is not yet approved. That disagreement is not a problem. That is the operating model working. The worst prioritization process hides those conflicts until later. Then the project gets funded, the prototype starts, and the team discovers that the original assumptions were weak. Stage 2 should expose those assumptions before active build effort begins. A strong Stage 2 process produces more than a ranked list. It produces a defendable portfolio. Each candidate should have scores, notes, disagreements, assumptions, blockers, and a recommended action. Advance. Deep dive. Discuss again. Hold. Shelve. The goal is not to make prioritization perfect. The goal is to make it explicit, cross-functional, and defendable. That is how enterprises reduce politics without pretending judgment can be fully automated. The strongest AI candidates should not jump directly from ranking into full production development. That is how organizations overcommit before they understand the work. Stage 3 is the innovation pipeline. Its job is to reduce uncertainty in controlled steps. The pipeline has 3 main substages: prototype, MVP, and production development. Prototype answers the first serious question: is this AI application even possible? That means testing whether the tools work, whether the data is usable, whether the integrations are realistic, whether the model behavior is acceptable, and whether the developer and DBA still believe the solution can be built within reasonable time and budget. Prototype is not supposed to prove the whole business case. It is supposed to reduce technical, data, and integration uncertainty. MVP answers a different question. Can this AI application demonstrate meaningful business value on a limited but realistic scope? That usually means choosing 1 to 3 high-priority business requirements and implementing enough capability to test real workflow value. The MVP should not become disguised production development. It should be production aware, but not production complete. It should use enough enterprise discipline to show that the project could credibly move forward. Production development is different again. At that point, the organization is no longer asking whether the idea is possible or whether limited value exists. It is asking whether a validated MVP should be completed, hardened, secured, integrated, tested, deployed, supported, and owned under full enterprise discipline. That is a major commitment. The practical rule is this: each stage should answer a different question. Prototype asks, can this work? MVP asks, does this matter enough? Production development asks, can the enterprise complete and own this responsibly? When those stages are blurred, projects either advance too early or stall forever. When they are separated, leadership gets better evidence before committing more money, people, and organizational attention. A mature AI portfolio does not keep the same ranking after new evidence appears. That is one of the defining strengths of the enterprise AI operating model. The model is not only a pipeline, it is a portfolio revalidation loop. After every prototype sprint and every MVP cycle, the organization should update what it knows. Cost assumptions may change, time estimates may change, technical feasibility may change, data readiness may change, security risk may change, business value may change, user adoption assumptions may change, operational burden may change. And when those assumptions change, the project's ranking should change too. This matters because early scoring is based on incomplete information. At stage 2, the team is making the best judgment it can with the information available. But prototype and MVP create new evidence. A project that looked easy may become complex. A project that looked risky may prove simpler than expected. A project with a big theoretical return may show weak workflow fit. A lower-ranked project may suddenly become attractive because a data source becomes available or a tool proves reliable. The danger is emotional commitment. Once a team starts building, people naturally want to defend the project. They remember the demo. They remember the executive interest. They remember the time already spent. They do not want to say the project is weaker than expected. But enterprise AI cannot be governed by sunk cost. If a project drops in value, rises in risk, or becomes less attractive than other candidates, the portfolio should reflect that. The revalidation loop creates a healthier habit. After each learning cycle, update the attributes, refresh the score, compare the project against the rest of the active portfolio. Decide whether to continue, advance, hold, shelve, downgrade, rescope, or kill. The key principle is blunt. Fund the current evidence, not the original excitement. That is how an enterprise learns without letting weak projects quietly consume the pipeline. Many AI projects should die in prototype. That sounds harsh, but it is one of the most practical truths in enterprise AI. Prototype is the cheapest place to discover that a project is weaker, riskier, slower, more expensive, or less valuable than people originally believed. A prototype may reveal that the tool does not perform as advertised. The data may be missing or too inconsistent. The legacy system may be harder to integrate with than expected. The API may not exist. The workflow may be more exception-heavy than the business owner realized. The security review may expose a data use problem. The estimated cost may destroy the business case. Those are not pleasant findings, but they are useful findings. The purpose of prototype is not to protect the ego of the original idea. The purpose is to reduce uncertainty before the organization commits more resources. If the project is still strong after prototype, good, advance it to MVP. If the project needs another short learning cycle, continue. If the project depends on something external, hold it. If the project is still possible but less attractive than others, downgrade it. If the project no longer deserves active attention, shelve it. If the project has no credible path, kill it. A weak operating model treats killed prototypes as embarrassment. A strong operating model treats them as avoided waste. The enterprise saved money. It saved staff time. It avoided production debt. It avoided deploying something insecure, unsupported, or low value. It protected the organization from pushing a bad idea deeper into the system. This is where leadership discipline matters. Executives should not ask, "Why did this prototype fail?" They should ask, "Did we learn the truth early enough to make a better portfolio decision?" That is the correct question. The takeaway is simple. An AI prototype that dies for the right reason is not a failure. It is evidence doing its job. The AI innovation team should not become the permanent owner of every idea it validates. That is a common enterprise trap. Innovation teams are good at discovery, prioritization, early validation, and learning. But production systems require durable ownership, engineering discipline, support models, monitoring, security controls, maintenance, user feedback, budget, and operational responsibility. In the enterprise AI operating model, the AI innovation team runs the front end of the system. It discovers opportunities. It scores and ranks them. It selects candidates for advancement. It reviews evidence from prototype and MVP work. It reevaluates the portfolio after each learning cycle. It decides whether initiatives should continue, hold, shelve, downgrade, or move forward. But after an MVP demonstrates enough business value and enterprise plausibility, ownership should transfer to a dedicated product or application team for production development. That handoff must be explicit. It should include the business case, MVP scope, implemented requirements, technical findings, data findings, tool findings, assumptions that changed, open risks, architecture direction, expected production concerns, named business owner, and named receiving team owner. Without that handoff package, the receiving team inherits a mess. This is where many AI initiatives break. The innovation team says, "We proved it." The delivery team says, "You proved something, but not enough for us to build and support it." The business says, "We thought this was almost done." Security says, "We still have unresolved concerns." Infrastructure says, "No one defined the operating model." That conflict usually means handoff was treated as enthusiasm instead of ownership transfer. A clean handoff should mean this: a validated initiative is mature enough for a dedicated team to complete under full enterprise discipline. Production operations sits downstream from the operating model. Once the production team accepts ownership and completes the build, normal enterprise operations take over. That boundary protects everyone. Innovation keeps moving. Delivery gets better input. Business owners understand commitment. And the enterprise avoids turning promising MVPs into unsupported production liabilities. If your organization already has AI ideas, tools, pilots, prototypes, and executive pressure, the next question is not simply, what should we build? The better question is, do you have the operating model required to choose, validate, advance, and own the right work? An enterprise AI operating model assessment should examine how the organization currently handles AI opportunity discovery, scoring, ranking, selection, prototype, MVP, production development handoff, decision rights, blockers, overrides, cadence, capacity, and metrics. It should ask practical questions. How are AI ideas captured? Are they normalized? Who scores them? Are different roles allowed to challenge assumptions? What criteria determine whether a project enters prototype? How many prototypes can the organization realistically support? What proves that a prototype is ready for MVP? What proves that an MVP is ready for production development? Who can block advancement? Who can override? Is the override documented? Who accepts production ownership? These questions are not bureaucracy. They are how serious organizations avoid AI chaos. A good operating model helps the enterprise discover broadly, rank realistically, validate cheaply, stop weak work early, advance strong work faster, and hand off proven initiatives cleanly. Without that discipline, the organization may still look busy. It may have AI committees, AI demos, AI backlogs, AI vendor meetings, and AI prototypes. But activity is not the same as progress. The test is whether the organization can consistently move from idea to evidence to ownership. The practical path is clear. Assess the current operating model. Blueprint the target model. Run the AI Innovation Team workshop. Pilot the model on a real portfolio. Then govern, measure, and improve it over time. The point is not to slow AI down. The point is to make better AI work move faster. The strongest AI programs do not fund every idea. They build a system that finds, validates, and advances the right ones. The Enterprise AI Operating Model gives organizations a disciplined way to move from scattered AI interest to a managed portfolio of validated initiatives. The organizations that discover broadly, rank honestly, validate with evidence, and hand off cleanly will make better AI investments. You can explore more practical enterprise AI resources at ain.net.com. Thanks for watching.